Hey, Bridget, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes, I'm
So I
here.
got a weird message that, let's see, I took a picture of it too. Oh, so I thought I took a picture of it. Oh,
From
yeah,
Zoom?
hmm?
A weird message from Zoom?
Yeah, it says your speaker is not working properly.
Oh, I can hear you fine.
Okay, it says your voice can still be recorded, but the voice of other participants cannot.
Oh. Well, that's very weird. Huh.
So I don't know what that's the first time I ever got that message.
Yeah, that's strange. Let me see if I can look something up quick. Let's see if I can figure out.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, nothing's really popping up right away. Just talks about allowing to record the meeting, video and audio locally to your file. Huh.
Well,
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. That's strange.
yep.
Well, it says it's recording, so I guess we'll see what happens, like you said.
Right.
I like your background.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I guess I'll put myself in.
Something different, huh?
Yeah. Now, do you know, is it recording to the cloud or is it recording to your computer?
Good question.
You know, offhand. I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people we're expecting today.
Well, it looks like from the email Chris had sent, there's quite a few. Like about 20 people.
In the invitation, but I'm not sure how many could
Yeah.
make it. Yeah.
Yeah, that part I'm not sure.
And Chris should be joining in any minute. Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Any idea how many council members we're expecting?
Really don't know. I know that I did receive a couple notices from a few folks that said they couldn't make it. So I think probably just give it a few minutes here and then we can get going.
Hi, Bethany. I don't think we've met.
I'm not sure if we have Pam. So yeah, I'm at the health department. So I'm really excited to be here.
Well, good to have you and nice to meet you.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked over the years with Courtney and Anna, so with different food related projects. So we've had good relationships over the years.
Great.
And now Megan, now that Anna's moved on.
Or Maddie, you mean?
Maddie, sorry, I got the M right.
Although we do have Megan too.
Yeah, no, Maddie.
Another M person. Yep.
Pam, it's Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
I'm appearing as my wife.
Okay. I wasn't familiar with Madeline, so thanks for identifying yourself.
Yeah, I'm having problems with my setup here.
Yeah, I got kind of a strange message regarding voice when I signed in, so I wasn't sure that things were working out okay.
Yeah, I was just checking, Pam. I heard from Linda Witchlack from Bennington Project Independence and Marie Wallace, and both of them couldn't make it. So maybe the group.
And you've got a bit of an echo, Chris. I hope I sound okay.
Yeah, I don't know what.
It's fine now.
Mhm.
I heard Bruce had an echo before on my end.
Well, do you want to jump in, Chris, and everyone can introduce themselves?
Yeah, sounds good. So I guess I'll just get things going. Small group today, but glad to have everybody here. And the good thing is it looks like everybody here is a new member of the advisory council. So really excited to have all of you and appreciate your time and interest in helping us out, with this group. So just a little background. So my name is Chris Adams. I'm the Development and Communications Director with SVCOA, and kind of been the contact or conduit for advisory council functions, in the past and will be moving forward. So if you ever need anything, reach out, feel free to grab me or Pam. And thanks to Bridget in our Bennington office for kind of setting up the technology here and taking notes and whatnot. So just and I know Pam's going to do kind of a council overview and also kind of delve into more about the advisory council and its purpose. But just a quick background on it, a range of community members from both counties that have varying roles or come from different views. So we've got people that serve on the council that have social service backgrounds. We have people that are volunteers, people that have been clients, people that are business leaders that really have no connection to the agency but might see things from their own unique perspective. And really the goal of it is to bring people together that kind of have these varying viewpoints and solicit feedback that is really helpful to the agency in planning its service delivery, and making changes in operations and help facilitate its long-term service planning. So obviously our staff see things, our board members see things, our community partners see things out in the community, but our advisory council has been really helpful. And we just get feedback from this group that is a lot of times it's input and information of things that we may be missing or that we're not seeing or that we don't understand the magnitude of. So just a really beneficial group. And like I said, we're really thankful to you guys for joining and for your participation. So Pam.
Well, thanks, Chris. And I'm Pam Zagorski, and I'm the executive director. I've been with the agency since May, so I'm very quickly coming up on the 1 year mark. Hard to believe. The time goes by so fast, even during a pandemic. So just to expand upon the reason that we called you together today, as Chris had mentioned, this advisory council is and has been instrumental in being a sounding board for ideas and for providing input on various aspects of projects, or in particular, last time this council got together, it was to provide input to our area plan, which is a required plan that our state agency requires of us. And the area plan is more of an operational plan. And the reason that we called you here today is because now we are engaged in our strategic planning process. And so as part of the strategic planning process, I wanted to solicit input from this valuable committee or council. I'm soliciting feedback from a number of stakeholders to compile, to synthesize all the inputs that will come together in the development of relooking at our mission, establishing a vision and values for the agency, looking at our strategies and our objectives going forward for how we fulfill those strategies. And so this is more of a future look than a current year operational look. And so that's why we've called you together today to give you some information so that we're all on the same page. I know that we have some new folks here today, and that's great to have new people participating with us in this process. So we're just going to make sure everybody has the same baseline information through a brief presentation about the agency and the services that it provides. And then we're going to give you another brief presentation about our area plan, a very boiled down version of the needs assessment and what we're doing to fulfill the needs. We want to solicit your feedback now that we're almost a year going into that process from where we first had conversations with the advisory council back in the early summer or late spring, I guess. And then if time permits, we have another kind of a fun exercise, and that's the standard SWOT analysis. And in particular, looking from your perspectives, what threats and opportunities should we be aware of as we look to develop our strategic plan and our strategies moving forward. So with that said, I guess I'd like to do some introductions of our participants, because I don't think that people know each other. So Bethany, maybe why don't you tell us about yourself?
Sure. Excuse me, I'm Bethany Yan. I work for the Vermont Department of Health, and I sit in the Office of Local Health, and I cover both Rutland and Addison counties. The body of work that I do is called chronic disease prevention. And I've worked for the health department now for, I think, 16 years, probably at least 10 of which have been in this role of chronic disease prevention. So it's really a prevention focused role, looking at how we can support communities, work sites, municipalities, organizations, so that they are healthy places. And so really looking at this big systems level of trying to make sure that our region is, a healthy place to live, work, and play. Historically, the role with the health department has been very much focused more on maternal child health, and so younger folks and babies. But there is now looking at the changing demographics of our state and where we're forecasting our population to go, where it is going already, and where we're looking at those longer term forecasts. There are some new grants that the health department has secured that are looking at the aging population. So there's one specifically around brain health, and so Alzheimer's work. And so I'm attached to those colleagues up in Burlington doing that work. And both of them I've worked very closely on other projects. So slowly carrying the water for that, the brain health work in terms of supporting and Alzheimer's and such in community. And yeah, I mean, I've lived in the Rutland community for, probably 35 years now. And socialize with a lot of folks who are of that senior, older Vermonter set. People who are both utilizing services as well as folks who have volunteered for driving Meals on Wheels and such. And as I said before, have worked with Courtney and Anna and now Maddie currently with I have helped lead a group that we call the Nutrition Coalition in Rutland County for many, many years. It's kind of sort of been on pause with the pandemic. I'm slowly tiptoeing back into my normal day job, so to say, having been pulled away for COVID response for, entering the third year now. So hoping that this year I will fully be back to the work that I normally do. So
Great, thank you.
that's me.
And how long have you been in advisory council now?
I'm brand new. This is my first time.
Oh, okay, great. So everybody is brand new. All right. Excellent, excellent. And Jeffrey, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that this is your first meeting as well.
It is, yes, and thank you. So as an outsider here to the board and board activity, I've got a 83-year-old mother with Alzheimer's. So I've moved in with her to take care of her since a year plus now. And the challenges for me certainly have been, taking care of her and myself and managing a full-time job and trying to find resources to assist with her care, activities, health, just the whole gamut of opportunities to make her life a little bit easier and ours. And the trouble has been trying to find that assistance or where to go to look for assistance. And so I was approached to join the supervisory board here as a caregiver to maybe give a little insight from my perspective and the challenges I faced over the past year or so and try to navigate getting assistance, things like that.
Great, thank you. And looking forward to your input.
Yes, thanks.
And Bruce, I know we have had the opportunity to talk a number of times. Could you just say a little bit about yourself, please? That is your, I know you said you were having some technology challenges. Can you unmute yourself? Oh, did we lose you? I hope not.
I just sent Bruce a direct message, just asking if he can hear us. So see what he says. I'll let you know.
Well, I think what I will do is just queue up the first PowerPoint, get that up and running while we're trying to find out what's going on with Bruce's audio.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
great.
I'm sorry. I apologize for my lack of technical knowledge. It's unfortunate because I staged my whole appearance here. I put on a collared shirt and I took off my bibbed overalls. That was meant to be a joke.
So what brings you?
So I'm 75 years old. I'm married. I've retired. I've lived in Vermont since 2002 and Bennington since 2004. I worked for 31 years for various Royal Dutch Shell Group companies. The last one was Shell Oil in Houston. During the time, my waning years with Shell, I went to culinary school. And when I moved to Vermont, I started working through RSVP, or volunteering through RSVP at Meals on Wheels in Manchester. So that was my first experience with the affiliated organizations with the Council on Aging. I spent a lot of time volunteering for various agencies affiliated with the COA, including Stuff the Bus effort. I did a grand kitchen program that was run through by the COA to teach. It was really the target market was grandparents and their children, and we taught them about nutrition and how to cook meals and maintain the nutritional value. So that was well worthwhile. So I got a lot of volunteer experience down here, and I'm looking forward to participating. So I can tell you, Pam, I do have experience in mission, vision, and value statements and establishing goals.
Okay,
So I'm anxious to participate in the strategic planning process.
great. Well, great to have you and great to have you all. So I will go back to this introductory PowerPoint. Can you all see the our logo on the slide? It sounds like I have to go now. So I don't know what caused that. Okay, let's hope it goes away. All right, cross fingers. All righty, so Bruce, I apologize. You've seen this, so I'm gonna get everybody on the same page. So this is just a brief overview of who we are and what we do. So our mission currently reads like this: to be a community force in creating and sustaining opportunities for elders and caregivers in our region, to help assure that elders are able to maintain maximum independence and quality of life. So we're going to look at this. My understanding is it hasn't been evaluated for some time. And so we're going to see, is it, it's a little wordy. Is it still relevant and how we describe who we are and what we do? Okay, just a little bit of background. We've been around since 1974. We're a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. We serve Rutland and Bennington counties with a few town exceptions served by other councils on aging. We have 2 administrative offices, one in each county. We are one of 5 area agencies on aging in Vermont, each representing various regions. And we're a member of the Vermont Association of Area Agencies on Aging, or the V4A. We are the AAAs and the association is the V4A. Everything has an acronym. All right, and so our clientele, older Vermonters, 60 plus. I still can't believe I hit that category just before starting this job. Some folks that we serve under 60, and we also provide services and supports for caregivers. Okay, just a little bit about how we are structured. We have a board of directors, as is the case with all 501c3s. The governance board in this council, the advisory council, is an advisory board. Okay, so that's the difference. Very different, but equally important. We have a leadership team, staff. We contract with some independent contractors, and we have a number of volunteers. So we rely on a lot of different types of folks to fulfill our mission. And we also are the sponsor agency for the Green Mountain Retired Senior Volunteer Program, or RSVP. All right, it's a little bit about how we operate, a little bit about our revenue and our expenses. So revenue sources, and I've titled this pre-pandemic because in the last couple of years, these pie slices got a little bit skewed by some pandemic related funding. But you can see basically 2/3 of our funding comes from federal government, and most of the rest comes from the state, with less than 10% from various other sources, towns, grants, donations, United Way, fundraisers. And on the expense side, also pre-pandemic, just because pandemic skews things a bit. The biggest pie slice, we have a rather large complement of case managers. We'll talk a bit about the services in a moment. Whoa. Our meals or nutrition program. And then we have our RSVP is the next biggest slice. And then we have a number of other programs represented by these smaller slices. But you can see the bulk of what we do is case management, nutrition, and RSVP is a big part as well. So how we are funded. Our funding, as you saw in that pie slice with 62% from the federal government, this depicts a little bit more detail about that pie slice. So the services and the funding is prescribed by the Older Americans Act, which is separated by titles which describe the services that we are required to provide to receive that funding. So B is for case management, information and assistance, or what we call our helpline, advocacy. Title C1 for meals, C2 for home delivered meals or Meals on Wheels, as we call it. D is for evidence-based programs, wellness programs, and then other titles, caregiver services and elder abuse prevention. So a lot of what we do is prescribed by the funding that we receive in accordance with the Older Americans Act. Okay. So then a little bit about each of those service categories. Case management, again, our largest program in terms of our largest staff. We have, I want to say, if you count the leadership, 12, I think, staff in case management. Case managers are advocates for clients and assist. The primary function is connecting clients with services and understanding what are the client's needs and what are the services to help them with those needs. And people get connected by a call to the senior helpline, which is really the gateway to all of our services. And we work with a variety of different programs as well. Veterans Directed, that's one that had not been part of our complement for a while, and we're working on getting re-engaged with that program. All right. So then the helpline, or basically the entry to whatever service or whatever question you may have about our services, or how to, what is your need and how can we help you to get connected to it. Options counseling or care transitions is conducted by an RN who is trained in this type of person-centered and community services planning. So again, it's understanding, what is the need and how can we help you to find the right avenue for that need. And so the theme here, a lot of what we do is we are not, for the most part, a provider, like you think of a healthcare provider, but what we do, we're really a connector, ensuring that clients get to the provider or the service that they need, and we contract with providers. So for example, nutrition, we have a number of different providers that offer home delivered meals or meals on wheels, as it's typically known, both therapeutic or non-therapeutic for various chronic conditions, for example, diabetes or other conditions that require a special meal. And we work with a registered dietitian who provides counseling to help people get to the right meal program. And congregate meal sites, we have a number of them throughout our 2 counties. The pandemic alternative, as I've called it, is a grab and go, because as you know, congregate meals or any other congregate settings have really been not operating in full swing during the pandemic. We offer wellness programs. These are the evidence-based programs currently offered. Generally, they're offered in person, and I put remote options. I really should have in parentheses, maybe. It's an option that we have been evaluating, hasn't really gotten off the ground in a remote world. Much better in person. Transportation, kind of a busy slide, and it's a busy slide because there are a number of different transportation providers in our 2-county region that offer transportation depending on what your need is and what your eligibility is in terms of being a Medicaid or not a Medicaid client. And so there are different providers for different circumstances. And so it's a very confusing and complicated web that we help people navigate to get them the right transportation. We have a volunteer program that helps with a variety of different types of needs and services. And we contract with an elder care clinician that offers outreach support and counseling. And everything has an acronym, of course. SHIP has nothing to do with water. It has to do with the statewide health insurance program. You, I'm sure, know that open enrollment for Medicare just came and went recently. And that's a very busy time, but there are questions and needs throughout the year, and we help with that. And then we have a couple different types of money management programs, depending again on what the level of need is. Money management is simply providing assistance with folks who need a little bit of help with managing their finances and bills. And then the more in-depth version of that is a representative payee, where the agency is acting on behalf of the client to pay their bills, not just assist with the paying of bills. All right. So that is us. That's the very quick overview. Bridget or Chris, if you want to add anything to it, or if anyone has any questions about anything, I've just kind of gone over it really quickly, just so that we're have the same level of familiarity. Questions, comments? Everybody's good?
All good.
Okay, awesome. All right, so then, let's see how we're doing. We're doing great time-wise. So we have another.
Pam?
Yep.
This is Bruce. I think I've got a question.
Sure.
There's no mention of income sensitivity to these the services that are provided.
Well, you raise a very good point. So services I did talk a little bit about that when I talked about transportation, and that there are eligibility requirements. There are eligibility requirements as well for other services. So for example, case management, if someone is on the state program, Choices for Care, they have to be financially eligible for that. There are nutrition services that require financial eligibility. So there are requirements depending on what the service is and what the payer is.
Great, thank you.
So thanks for bringing that up. Very good point. All right. All right, so we're going to share the screen again. I'm going to talk a little bit about our area plan that this advisory council, I think different folks, but same council participated in last June, I think it was, as we were in the final stages of preparing our area plan for submission to Dale. So we're just going to do a little bit of a recap on that. So again, as I said, the area plan is something that all of the AAAs are required to prepare, and it's every 4 years. And so there's a standard format that we all have to prepare certain elements of the plan. And one of those is, what are our internal goals? And so these are the things that we have been and will continue to be working on. The first being the agency's transition to an executive director organizational model. Before I came on board in May, Chris and the other directors shared the role of executive director in addition to their core roles. And that got kind of busy because we've got a lot to do. So the board decided that we were going to go to a more traditional organizational model, which had been the case a few years back. And then always in the goal, if you recall from that pie slice, big chunk of that pie is state and federal revenue. And so how much control do you think we have over that? Not much. So in terms of, we don't set the rates or, set the funding for ourselves and say, dear federal government, we'd like more money this year because we want to do all these new programs. So it's, we're typically at the mercy of the state and federal budgets for those sources. So we really want to diversify and expand beyond state and federal funding sources whenever possible. Developing an agency strategic plan, which you are now part of. Adding and growing partnerships, cross-training and training opportunities for staff, always looking to up our game. Technology, where would a plan be without technology? So these are the things that I think will always be at the core. The top one is a little more specific to this past and ongoing year. All right, so this council helped us out with our needs assessment, identifying what are the needs for the older adults in our areas. And so, Chris, I think I'm going to ask you to jump in on this one, since I want to give you an opportunity to take a piece of this. So what we have here is just the very short Reader's Digest version on the 6 needs that we've identified and what are the goals associated with those. We want to read.
So yeah, sure. I'll jump in here, Pam. So just to give everybody kind of a backstory on how we arrived at the 6 kind of key areas of focus. And those 6 items were generated by a statewide survey that was conducted by in concert with our sister AAAs that serve the area agencies on aging that serve the other areas of the state. There was we had a contractor survey group that facilitated that survey process statewide with results specific to, obviously, to our service area. We also conducted our own SVCOA local survey of Rutland and Bennington County stakeholders, a range of folks, clients, volunteers, community partners, legislators, local business leaders, broad audience, and also solicited feedback from our advisory council, as Pam mentioned last spring. So, and what's really amazing is you kind of have all these 3 or 4 different information collection and feedback collection efforts, and they all identified almost to a T the exact same needs or areas of focus. So pretty interesting how that works. You don't always see that, but it was very telling that all of those survey collection efforts identified the same 6 items. Obviously, there were other items that kind of fell further down the list and weren't as, I would say, as high a priority. But these are the 6 items that we identified and are looking to work on moving forward in this plan. So the first one is just a general, very broad gap in awareness of the availability of what services and supports we provide. So that obviously it's very broad. We're in a kind of a unique position in that people don't necessarily, come to us or need us until they need us, right? So it can be. Can you guys still hear me? My screen froze up there for a second.
Yes, you're fine.
You can hear me. Okay. Yeah. So like what I was saying is that, not that we're kind of. I think that like I was saying, I think that it's a lot of people, from what we hear, have heard of SVCOA and may not know exactly what we do. And then when they're looking for help, that's when they kind of learn. And so I think that upfront outreach and awareness is what we're looking to improve upon. so folks have a better understanding, even if they're not working directly with us or don't need us. They have an understanding of what we do and what we provide. So whether it's a family member, a friend, a colleague of theirs that might need help and support, they know who to turn to, and we're a resource for that. So that's one goal that we're working on, is just general community awareness and education of what we offer. The second issue, Pam, do you want me to just keep going, or?
Sure.
Okay, the second issue that was identified through those survey efforts is a lack of internet accessibility, communicative technology equipment, and technology education among older Vermonters in our service area. So, I'm sure that's not unique to our area. I think it's something that existed pre-pandemic, but I think was compounded and became a larger issue as a result of the pandemic, just because of what technology can provide in enabling people to access, different classes and activities, and really just to socialize. So that was, like I said, that was compounded by the pandemic, and something that we really want to shore up moving forward. Put the pandemic aside, there's so many tools out there that can be utilized to help people socialize, communicate, remain active virtually, in their own homes. So that's another area of focus.
So just to pause for a moment here, I just want to ask our advisory council members if you all have any ideas as to things that we can be doing in addition to the goal statement we have here. Are there things that we should be doing to increase the uptake of technology and the use of it in our area?
Bruce here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Couple of things. I'd say recently I've seen a number of public service press releases coming from you, and thank you, Chris and Pam, for that. I mean, that to me has increased the level of awareness here in Bennington. The Bennington Banner has a senior living section periodically, and recently you've had articles in there, one about the annual meeting, and also the award that was given out for Volunteer of the Year type of thing. So those have been good, I think. And also, I mean, to me, the let's see, you did a pamphlet on the impact statement of the year, the annual results, which is really very impressive. I mean, I don't know how widely that's circulated, but that's really quite the document, I think.
Well, thanks.
That's it.
Okay.
I can share in terms of relevant to this goal around tech, that there are other folks who are addressing this as well for the older Vermonter population. So SASH is certainly trying to investigate that. So being sure that they're at the table, and part of it is having to do with how do we get the chronic disease self-management programs out to Vermonters, which used to be the in-person classes, whether it's tobacco cessation, chronic disease management, diabetes prevention, and that all went online. And so that's been a barrier for a lot of older Vermonters, especially in super rural areas, which we have a lot of in Rutland County. And so there's a lot of conversation happening around that. So there's an awareness amongst a lot of other community partners and stakeholders that this is a concern, and others that are working on it. So being aware that efforts are being made and to try and coordinate, I think might be something useful when going forward with this. So the person who's leading the charge for chronic disease self-management in Rutland County, there's about to be a change in that position, but I sit at a number of those stakeholder tables.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and just kind of an aside here is literally right before I got on this meeting, I got off a call with the other Vermont AAAs and V4A, which is kind of our coordinating organization, if you will. It's a kind of the umbrella organization for the AAAs. We're really happy that we recently signed a contract with this platform called Get Set Up. And Get Set Up is a internet-based virtual program that we're going to push out in the near future that will allow clients, volunteers, all the Vermonters to have access to so many different activities and classes and programs through that they'll be able to participate in virtually. So just a quick aside that we're happy about that step forward, but certainly a ton of work to do in this area.
Yes, and funding is critical as well, not only to provide the technologies for our older adults, but the care and maintenance of it as well. And so actually last Friday, I participated in an interview by a researcher working for the Vermont Community Foundation, who is writing an article about needs to give donors ideas as to what are the needs and what are the things that need support. And and I said technology is an area of great need. And I'm sure certainly for our older Vermonters, it's critical, especially accelerated by the pandemic. But I imagine it goes well beyond that. All right. So getting to the next need, number 3. And this goes hand in hand with technology.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously, we mentioned this previous, just general social isolation, pre and post pandemic. And that was another area that was, commonly identified in our survey work. And as Pam said, that ties in with a technology component as well. So.
Yep. And any ideas other than technology to bring people together virtually? Certainly transportation is an area to bring people together, physically. Does anyone have any further insight into the very broad issue of social isolation?
I've got, it's a very difficult time with the pandemic being has such an overriding influence on the difficulty to clearly see some of these challenges and explain how to best resolve them. But really transportation and things like gathering, like centers, like the Bennington Senior Center for one thing, or the rec center, transportation is such a hurdle there that the timing of the bus routes and the waiting on the corner for the bus and that sort of thing is very difficult to see how people can actually do that in this type of weather.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, so going to issue number 4 really kind of wraps it all together.
Yeah, so issue 4, pretty broad that, our service area, Bennington and Round counties, represent essentially one of the least income secure areas in the state, and the highest Medicaid population. So that's a very broad issue that we're looking to, that we have obviously income is not something that's directly within our control, but our programming can be tailored to support folks that are in that position. So
All right, so we've we should follow this one with the social isolation, but here it is, transportation.
Yeah, and this one is a lack of access to social personal transportation. And kind of just a quick background on that is, SVCOA has a limited amount of funding to support transportation needs of clients and older Vermonters in our communities. And a lot of times what happens there is with the funding is prioritization of folks that might need essential medical care, testing, treatment, those types of things. And we've seen in recent years that those funds often get used up, if you will, by some of those essential activities, which has decreased the amount of resources, that we're able to put towards social personal transportation. So that's certainly an area of that's a challenge that we're looking to work on in the next 4 years.
And here's a question for our committee. And I am not from Vermont, so I'm not as familiar as other folks here on this Zoom. So now, how common is Uber and Lyft in this area to fill some of these gaps? Is that even an option?
Yeah, it's Bruce. I'm not really aware of it being readily available here. That's in Bennington.
Yeah, I don't know either here in Rutland. I mean, I know that Uber exists, but now, because I know people who drive, but now you also have a technology issue in terms of being able to even access that program kind of thing. So
this is a tough nut to crack. There's no easy solutions. If they were easy, we wouldn't be talking about them.
Right.
All right. All right, and our final issue, number 6, very difficult challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Pam, if you want to touch on this. I know, obviously, Jeff has mentioned some of his experiences, and the broad issue of kind of our statewide caregiver shortage, is an issue that we're seeing, but it's certainly not unique to Rutland and Bennington counties. It's statewide. It's nationwide. A huge challenge. So.
Right. So that's really it in a nutshell. In caregiver, it's something that is so broad, and people have or tend to have a different connotation of what are we talking about when we say caregivers? Are we talking about nurses? Are we talking about LPNs? Are we talking about personal care assistants? I think when we're talking about caregiver supports in our realm, we're talking about those folks, like Jeff, that are day to day, taking care of a mom. And it's perhaps Jeff, if you want to talk a little bit about what would you like to see happen, or what would you like to see us engaged in to try to move the needle on what is a challenging shortage of caregivers and support for and education for caregivers. Do you have anything you'd like to add to help us move this this issue forward?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, so had we not been in a pandemic, I think the issues be a little bit different. I think those opportunities would be there. I've taken a caregiver course that was offered through your group, which was very good. The challenge that I'm finding right now with my mother is that social engagement with others. And certainly there's that isolation of volunteers not being allowed or prevented from coming into homes. You know, it's just part of what's going on. So how do we get around that? You know, that I really don't know how we get around it, but I'm seeing it firsthand,
Mhm,
and it's hard. It's difficult.
mhm.
Like I said, if we weren't in a pandemic, I don't think we would have this issue as much. You know, we lost a lot of the volunteers, from my understanding, that were coming into the home just to sit down with for an hour or so and just chit chat and, you know, talk about the day.
And we also lost our, at least in Rutland, the adult day facility in Rutland that, you know, can shoulder some of that load.
Exactly. So, you know, to back up from my original comments in the introduction is, you know, I guess for me, part of this includes a means to corral all this information that is available, but not so easily found. You know, so I struggle right now trying to find out what's available at this point. So if there was a portal, something for somebody like myself that still is technical savvy here, to be able to go in and navigate and look for certain things that are available. I really don't know what's available out there. The adult daycare or adult day opportunities, I'm really not sure, other than the Godnex Center, what is available. So, you know, for me, I guess the first step is to propose a means to get this information out. You know, kind of a hierarchy, a tree to navigate through. You know, my mother has specific needs that are different than somebody else. I mean, so to find this help or assistance or just a means of caregivers to speak with each other, right, to share. I mean, maybe that's what this comes down to at the moment is the opportunity to speak in a forum here, to share knowledge, transfer that knowledge, what other people are doing in lieu of this pandemic, to help assist and guide you and your group into moving in a specific direction.
I think that's really, really good feedback, Jeff. I love the idea of the kind of a portal or a one-stop resource where you can, you know, view a resource that would list all of the different support, you know, not services, but supportive services, groups,
Yeah.
different things available kind of in one place. A couple years back, the agency launched a caregiver registry, more for you know, hired available caregivers for hire. But this sounds like something that maybe would take that a couple steps further, and provide different elements of support, you know, under one roof, that folks, if they're looking for certain things, can check that out and know what's available, who to call, all that. So I think
Exactly,
the feedback's great.
who to call, what's available.
Yeah.
You know, for myself, this is all brand new and kind of grasping at straws here, trying to figure out what do we need. So at least, you know, for myself, if I go to a portal and I start navigating it, the way my brain works, that's the avenue I like, because then I can see many different options to say, oh yeah, I didn't think about this type of service, but this may benefit my mother. But, you know, it just wouldn't occur to me naturally, not being in the caregiver field as a profession, okay, or health services. So yeah, some way to offer, you know, an a la carte. This is the kind of things that are available in the state of Vermont. And as you said, Chris, you know, at least a direction, a number to call, an email, or another site that provides that type of service.
Yeah. That's great feedback. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I also add to this? So, you know, So I'm providing super long distance caregiver support to my 84 and 87-year-old parents in Florida, which it has its own lovely challenges as well. And I think, as I've worked through bazillion conversations with them and so many different trips, both pre and during pandemic, is really developing some skills or learning how to talk to my elderly parents about services, since they are originally Vermonters, New Englanders. And so those services are for everyone else. We don't need them. We're fine. That's their attitude, even though they now chuckle, oh, we must really look like we're not doing well if all these people are helping us at a restaurant, kind of thing. So there, for them, this shifting of where are they at on their own personal journey through aging, and becoming more dependent, but not wanting to become dependent. So how do I, as a caregiver or, as a child kind of thing, work through that with them? That's an area for help. I love the idea of a caregiver support group that Jeff is bringing up. I think that that's a great idea as well. But I think, how do we communicate with some of our elders? Because not all of our elders here have a Jeff, or family close by, and how do we connect folks with services if those services are quote unquote for everyone else? So I know one of our challenges has been when I have connected my parents to their local COA, they make a phone call, and if mom doesn't get the answer she's expecting, then she shuts down and says no. So so that's the short story.
It's a tough place to be, to admit that you actually may need help of some kind, because people are very proud. Yeah, difficult conversation, especially you're the child, the roles then reverse, and that's a tough situation.
Sure is. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Good dialogue there. So I want to be respectful of time. We're at an hour. I have one other really quick thing that I want to get a couple minutes of your feedback on. We reviewed a lot of the needs, which are many and complex. I hate to even ask if you think we missed anything, because I'd hate to think that there is something we missed, or something that's as big as the 6 that we just presented, but I want to give that opportunity.
I can't think of anything offhand, though. I'll give it some more thought.
And, the thing is, we're here all the time. This is not a time limited conversation. Anything that you may think of at any time, you can, feel free to reach out to Chris or me or whoever at the council you may, work with on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it also doesn't have to be like a broad high level issue. It can be something nitty gritty specific that maybe you saw or you experienced or you heard about. In the past, advisory council members have mentioned things that literally, weren't even on our radar, or, maybe we had heard a little bit about, but we didn't really understand maybe how big of an issue it might be. So, it can also be something, very detailed, not high level. So.
Yep, good point. So my last slide here. How many are familiar with the SWOT analysis? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Okay, you're all sophisticated folks, and I'm sure you've been exposed to this or participated in this a number of times. So, as part of our strategic planning process, one of the first things that you do is, you assess, the S and the O, the strengths and the strengths, the S and the W, sorry, your internal factors. What do you offer for strengths, and where's your exposure? Where are your weaknesses? And then the O and T are those external things that are imposed upon you. Opportunities are good, threats are bad. So, I guess, looking at, in Bethany, I think you probably have the most familiarity with us. If, do you, we can all talk about our strengths. Are there any either weaknesses or, things that we could do better? Or anyone else chime in? Always looking to improve, so from your dealings with us, where do we need to sort of beef up, change things, get better?
I think
I
you
don't know exactly where it would fall, but it seems to me from listening to Pam, your presentation at the Bennington Senior Center on January 5th, that the Council on Aging is moving towards a phone system where the phones are answered by an individual and moving away from the
Right.
answering phones. I mean, I think that's such a terrific step forward. I don't know how far you've been able to progress that, but to have somebody of this age group, myself included, to answer the phone and be able to explain to them what you need is, I mean, we are phone communicators,
Yep.
people of my generation.
Yeah, and that's very important to our service improvement efforts is implementing that phone system, which is a virtual phone system, and along the lines of the fact that during the pandemic, well, we're still in the pandemic, but at the 2 years ago, before my time with the agency went from being totally in the office to being not at all in the office, and went to and the phone system didn't keep up. So the leave a message and call back, was and continues to be a way of operating. And so now implementing this virtual phone system where anyone can answer the phone from anywhere as long as they have their laptop or their smartphone. So so absolutely right now that is a weakness, not having real-time connectivity without a callback. And so that's definitely something that we're working on, especially knowing we're working with a population that isn't as tech savvy yet. As those 60-year-olds become 80-year-olds, we will be, but right now not so much. When someone needs help, they don't need it tomorrow, they need it now. So clearly that is an area that we're working on. So
I think that you're addressing, what I often see as a weakness is what you're addressing with what you identified in terms of the gap of awareness or knowledge about who you are and what you do. I think folks may default to Meals on Wheels, and that's all that the Council on Aging does. And so really continuing that outreach, and gosh, I can remember years ago when my husband was still practicing financial services and tax preparation, and he was trying to, what can I do to provide support for this, elderly client that I still have? I'm like, well, call Council on Aging. He was like, why would I call them? Like, that's your one stop to go. So figuring out a diverse set of folks to outreach to really get that word out, because I think that still continues to be, it's a barrier.
Yep,
It's a weakness.
need number one, awareness. Yep, very good. So
I'd also say that
go ahead.
given the newness of the area plan, that provides an awful lot of the things that a strategic plan incorporates. I mean, you have your goals there. You do have areas of concern or needs there as well. So there's a lot of applicability to that area plan, to any strategic plan moving forward. I mean, personally would amend the goals to make them more of a SMART goal type. That SMART is an acronym. It stands for
Yep.
Specific, measurable, attainable, ready, and timed. So all of those elements should be incorporated into a goal, particularly accountability. I mean, who is responsible for these things? How is it measured? I mean, your goals, the way I see them, are more statements, in my opinion.
Yep. Point well taken. Actually, I guess I shouldn't have gone past that slide that I went past. So just to zip back to it for a moment. In the area plan, as part of certain sections, not everything that we just talked about, but there are certain measures that follow similar to the SMART goals, what's called the RBA, or the results-based accountability format. So there are goals that all of the AAAs have, typically have been prescribed by DALE, the Department of Aging and Independent Living, the state department that we work with, and establishes goals for areas such as, for example, case management. What percentage of people served are satisfied with their case manager, are satisfied with that are living in the environment that they want to live in. So there are aspects to a measurable format related to some of those goals. Within the Older Americans Act section. But I think, Bruce, you bring up a very good point. As we look at technology, for example, well, we have a need and we have goal to increase the access and use of technology, but establishing some more specific and measurable goals around that would be taking it to the next step.
Yeah, and like one of the top 6 issues that is kind of tied to RBA format is kind of in my wheelhouse with the awareness gap and education gap. For example, I've got a report due in a couple of days here for the first quarter of the plan, which is some of the measurables are how many media stories was the council and its services featured in, or another one is how many new community partnerships have been formed, which community partnerships build community awareness and kind of help us branch out in terms of our service awareness. So that's one example of something that is tied to the RBA format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So just to spend a couple minutes, if I may, on our environment and the forces that the environment place upon us, whether good or bad. What are some opportunities that you see being created just by being in Vermont, by being in this day and age? What are some opportunities that you think we should capitalize on related to the things that we've been talking about the last hour? Or conversely, what are the threats out there that, from your point of view, we had best be aware of and have a plan to minimize the threat?
I think there are a couple of opportunities. I can take a closer look. I don't know if you've all looked at the community health needs assessment that was put together by Rutland Regional. So transportation is a part of that, as well as older Vermonters. So to see where those overlaps are and what work is happening there, so that everybody's sailing a ship in the same direction together. I think at a state level, there's opportunity with broadband being a big part of the, included in the budget. So what is that actually going to mean on the ground? So I don't know what those larger voices headed up to, working with our state reps, et cetera, to make sure that older Vermonters are part of that conversation around broadband. And I think some of that, my personal opinion is that, driven by school, so all of the issues when kids were remote learning and where, parking lots was where they were having to go to get to internet, but our elder population as well. So I think that there's opportunity there because there's a big chunk of change going towards that.
Good. How about the flip side? What are well, there's always the threat of budget cuts, right? That are looming that we always have to be aware of.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out when I think about something like Everyone Eats, which has been a really great food access program that wasn't just in Rutland, but when it was really going strong, had hubs across the county that folks could pick up. So it wasn't just Rutland based. That's just getting funded like little piecemeal at a time right now. So it's only going for a few more months. And so that was really helping to, I think, close a gap for getting meals to a lot of Vermonters with no questions asked. So there were no income requirements. It was anyone.
Okay. All right.
One more thing. This seems to be a real challenge that I've observed in getting volunteer trainers for some of these programs, particularly moving forward. I mean, here in Bennington, we had a program, a Tai Chi program, but we lost the trainer. So the program kind of shut down. I mean, it was those sort of people also do that activity as an income generator. They're earning money doing this. I mean, it's difficult to get a volunteer to do that sort of thing, I would think. And of course, RSVP is very good at getting volunteers, but you're limiting your pool to people 55 and older. I mean, it's there's a gap there, I think. And then also the willingness to financially commit to the cost of a trainer to do some of these programs that require certification.
Yeah. Well, made more difficult by the pandemic too. All right. Well, I think we've spent well past an hour. I wasn't quite sure how much time we were going to spend, depending on how our dialogue went, but I want to be respectful of time and not take up too much of your time, and really want to thank you all for all your great comments and insight, and being a part of what we do. And again, I want to encourage you to not wait for us to solicit input. If you have input, share it with any of us here at the council. We're available by phone. Email is the best, quite frankly. We certainly look forward to continuing this dialogue.
Pam, can I just ask, what's the move forward plan with the strategic planning?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because otherwise I would have forgotten to say, following this session, there's a survey that we've prepared that, a little bit different depending, for example, our employees got a survey, our leadership team got a survey, the board, actually the board and the advisory council, I believe, have the same survey, asking you for, and it's a electronic survey on SurveyMonkey, that will send you a link, along with those of the council members that weren't able to join us today. I think, Chris, we'll have to figure out if we provide, I don't know, the session and a link, or what we do there to get our other folks on board with helping us with the survey. It's looking at, what services do we provide or might want to consider providing. And it's looking at, what strategies we want to incorporate as part of our strategic plan. For example, either looking at expanding our existing services, getting more people to participate in our existing services or offering new services. Awareness is one that hit high marks. So that's going to be no surprise. Innovation, from your perspective, we can't do everything in 3 years. And so, we're looking to focus on, typically 3 big things and then develop, 3 big strategies and develop some action points under it to, help with fulfilling the needs that we talked about and fulfilling the goals, whether it be SMART goals or RBA goals that we talked about. So we'll be sending you the link to the survey. It's, I don't expect that it would take more than 15 or 20 minutes to complete. So we appreciate your participation in that. And then we're going to compile all the survey results from all our stakeholders. We have one for clients as well. It's a very short one to get their input as well. So we're going to compile all our feedback, whether it be through meetings or through the survey. And then the board and leadership are going to meet in March to put it all together. And then we'll come back to you and, so full circle with the result of that. So this is the input stage that we're in right now. All right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And thank you all for your good work.
Well, thank you all for your very valuable time and very valuable input. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Zoom, hopefully in person one day.
Yeah, thank you all again.
Thank you.
And I'll keep everybody posted on upcoming meetings or any other communications specific to the group. So thank you.
All right. Take care,
Thanks.
everyone.
Have a great afternoon.
Thank
too.
you.